ancient world of Azeroth has seen much turmoil. So much so that it would be hard to convince someone that this was only the beginning. The empire of the Kaldari rests upon a dangerous precipice. They have the potential to reach for the very stars themselves. Or will they falter when it counts most? Don't forget to like and subscribe and come. Take a seat by the fire as we see heroes become legends. While there were many night elves born within the empire of eternal moonlight, few would be nearly as important as the birth of two twin brothers. They were born in the beautiful groves of Val'sharah, in a town named Lor'lethil, in the shade of two twin aspen trees named the Boughs of Ashara. They would, however, spend their youth in the awe-inspiring temple city of Suramar. The brothers were named Malfurion and Illidan Stormrage. Malfurion preferred the tranquility of nature, even at an early age. Always reaching to deepen his bond with the natural world, he would seek the quiet places, and notably loved a waterfall on the outskirts of the city. Illidan, in contrast, however, had one thing that separated him from his brother: his pair of golden eyes, a mark that was revered by all of Night Elven kind, and promised a great and prosperous future for the young elf. He would be drawn to the scholarly practices of magecraft, becoming a truly gifted sorcerer, and took to the magical practices quickly. It was here that the two brothers met a young, naive, and beautiful priestess named Tyrande Whisperwind. Both brothers over time would come to fall in love with the young maiden, but Tyrande only ever had eyes for one. It was the loving heart of Malfurion that drew her in, and she would never love another again. The wild god Cenarius would take great interest in the brothers and begin to tutor them. While Malfurion learned quickly the teachings of nature, Illidan did not, and would quickly seek another path. As Malfurion became one of the greatest disciples, he would go on to be the first mortal druid of Azeroth. Even among the Highborn, he would earn himself renown as a respected scholar. While these events were taking place, major stirrings were happening far to the south of the continent. Here, the Mogu still had a tight grip on their lands. Even without Lei Shen they endured, and still held the other races in slavery. It was here that history tells of a Pandaren named Kang. Losing both his son and his wife to the cruelty of the slave masters sent him into deep grief and despair. But it was then he saw with absolute clarity what the Mogu really were. They had terrible weapons and dark magic, but they were weak. They had become fat and dependent upon the slave labor, and he would take advantage of it. Unable to take up arms without drawing attention, he would instead become the weapon himself. He was the first to develop the mastery over his inner spirit, honing body and mind as one, becoming the first monk as we know them today. He would begin to teach others, eventually founding a monastery in the mountains of Kun Lai. Famously, he would wield a staff, not a blade, even so far as having it blessed by the wild god Zuan, after which it would come to be known as Shay Lun. He and his growing monk rebels won many battles against the Mogu and the then Emperor Lao Fei, eventually forcing them to retreat into their last bastion in the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. Kang was joined by the other slave races in the uprising. The Jinyu, the Hosen, even the mighty bull-like Yongol would rise in opposition. Sensing the vulnerability of the Mogu, Kang led an all-out assault on the last fortress. Both the slave emperor and Kang would die in this battle with each other, but this marked the beginning of the Pandaren reign and the end of the Mogu. The once allied forces of the Zandalari would see this as an opportunity to strengthen their position. Over the next 100 years they would plot their invasion, seeking to claim the land once promised to them by the Thunder King himself. This would be recorded in the annals of history as the Zandalari Troll Wars. The Zandalari would march south, wielding impressive mystical magic gifted from the lower, and riding humongous, dangerous dinosaurs. They would break across the northern regions in a whirl of steel and fury. But their true power lay in their Sky Riders. The legendary order of monks that had protected Pandaria had never faced a threat of this kind. They were outmaneuvered at every turn. But a young woman named Zhang served as a beacon of hope. As a young girl, she had tended to the wounds of a young cloud serpent. These draconic flying serpents soared the skies of Pandaria and were to be feared for the danger they posed. However, despite the warnings, Zhang befriended the serpent and developed a strong bond, naming him Lo. She would defend her home, the pair of them working in unison. Blow after blow she struck against the trolls. Eventually, others followed in her footsteps. More Pandaren would train in the ways of serpent riding, developing weapons like the Spear of Zuen to be used while mounted. The Zandalari became desperate. The final battle took place at the Tomb of the Conquerors. The Zandalari planned to raise the Thunder King from the dead, releasing his madness unto the world once more. But Zhang would fight with every ounce of her strength to stop this. She faced the leader of the Zandalari forces herself, eventually falling in battle with him, but not without taking him with her. Now bereft of a leader, the Zandalari forces retreated in shame. But Lo could be seen circling for many years the skies of Pandaria, still looking for his friend. Her memory would live on in the hearts of the Pandaren people. They would establish an order dedicated to her teachings, ones of befriending cloud serpents, and it still lives on in the modern day. Meanwhile, back in the heartlands of the Night Elves, Malfurion began to sense something had changed. The reclusive Highborn had distanced themselves even further. Something had happened, something they did not want to share with the world. He was right, and it was actually a discovery made by the right hand of Ashara, one of her closest allies, the High Lord Counselor Xavius. He was one of the most powerful mages in the Night Elven history. He was also so entranced by Ashara he would do anything for her, even carving out his eyes and replacing them with enchanted rubies to better sense the magical world. He then stumbled upon a powerful fiery entity from the Great Dark, the Mad Titan himself. When he saw the glory of Sargeras, he believed him to be a god, and would convince Ashara and the others of this very fact. Together, the Highborn initiated a magical rite, one that would change the fate of Azeroth forever. They would open a portal through to the twisting nether and bid welcome to the first demons to walk their soil. Ashara had become obsessed with the mighty power of Sargeras. In him she saw a worthy consort, and to this end she was blind to the twisted abominations that first walked through. Some of the high commanders of the Legion began to prepare their forces for conquest. The Queen was now all but lost to her people. The ecstasy of her magic had consumed her, and the Nightborn were lost to this same madness. Across the world, those more sensitive or in tune with the natural flow would feel this disturbance. They became uneasy, and one particular Jinyu seer within the heart of Pandaria would have a vision. Within this second sight he saw the sky burn. The screams of the people of Azeroth was deafening. The Legion was coming. This is exactly what he would tell the then Emperor of the Pandaren, Shao-hao, with a dire warning. Shao-hao sought the advice of the wild gods of Pandaria, known as the August Celestials, for a way to save his people from the coming disaster. With a heavy heart, he found a way. He would sacrifice his own life force to become one with the land. A magical barrier of mist would surround it and occlude it from the world. He had given his people the greatest gift of all, time. Alas, they would be cut off for countless millennia, but at least they would be safe. A kinder fate than that which was unleashed upon the rest of Azeroth. But we will cover that in the next episode. Thanks to everyone for all the support. I really cannot thank you enough. Oh, and for now, don't forget to come back anytime.